So, you've been laid off twice.
Nice.
Yeah.
In less than a year.
In less than a year as
Yeah.
well, we internalize our job so much that
Right.
it's almost an identity, especially in the beginning. It's actually what gives a lot of our life structure.
Right.
You build everything around
it,
work,
right.
and then when that's like taken away, you realize how much.
How much time? This was October, so a lot of companies had started. I think I was good. I stretched to my desk. I opened it and saw again the access to that, and I closed it. And I went back to sleep.
Well,
I was just like, well, like there's
hi everyone. Welcome to Grow with Mo, a channel on self-improvement and helping you adults one video at a time. So today, in today's video, I have my friend here with me to talk about something that a lot of people have probably experienced in the past year, but maybe we don't talk enough about it. So before we get started, I'm going to have him introduce himself.
For sure. Hey everyone, my name is Sharif Agbola. I guess a bit about my background. I went to the University of Texas at Austin, studied computer science and economics there, and started my career as a product manager at Google, and that's what I've done all through my career. And right now I'm at Visa in the Visa crypto org. But yeah. Nice.
You started off at Google. Wow.
Right.
Just went straight for the big dog. Nice. Okay, so I really appreciate you coming to talk about this today. I know it's a difficult conversation, and but I think it's important that we talk about difficult things. So, you've been laid off twice.
Nice.
Yeah.
In less than a year.
In less than a year as well. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so tell me how it felt. Like, what was the process of the first layoff like?
The first layoff was 2022. I think it was like the first set of layoffs that in the stretch of a lot of tech companies just laid
Just started off, yeah.
And it was in June. It was with Coinbase. And what was crazy about that one was I had just joined Coinbase January of that year. And I was really excited about the job. Right. And then 5 months later, I started, I think, was it January 14th or something like that? Yeah, January 14th. And I got laid off June 14th. So it was like 5 months at the company, and the night before I was working till like 10 p.m. Me and my boss were on call at like 8.
Yeah, Coinbase is like pretty cutthroat. Yeah.
And then at 7, I woke up and like I was prepping for a call, and actually one of my mentors texted me a Medium article saying about the
layoffs,
and they're like, "Hope you're not impacted." Opened my laptop because Coinbase was fully remote.
Right.
And it said access denied.
Oh my
and
God.
Like I at the moment, I just kind of laughed it off, like, well, yeah, I guess I don't have a job. It wasn't till that night, like luckily I had a lot of friends that like obviously it was one of the first ones, so everyone heard about it, everyone was texting me about it. So I had a lot of folks around me that day. But it was the night of that it actually like hit me that I got laid off. So I was like,
you won't go to work the following day.
Why am I sleeping early? There's no work tomorrow. So it was like, man, like I'd never been in that like type of headspace before, because I think typically it's like I think of life and like you work hard, good things will happen.
Right?
So I felt like I was working very hard at Coinbase. So for it to just like be laid off out of nowhere,
right, and at such a short period of time, too.
Right, and it's like, and the thing that's weird about a layoff is like there's really nothing you can do to help it, right? It's just like a numbers thing.
It is what it is.
Right. They're trying to make the numbers work, and like you're just like impacted by like corporate like high level decisions.
Right.
But it still felt like I could have done something. Like could have worked harder. Even though it was 5 months, like, because there's some impact I could have made that would have avoided me getting laid off. So yeah, those first couple of months were really hard. Yeah. And then it was just
so there was like you had like the initial, like you probably went through the different stages of grief.
Right.
You know, you're sad that this happened, and then you start to think like, you know, you're going through like bargaining, like could I have done something and all of that. So like let's talk about, you mentioned that people were reaching out to you, a lot of people. I know that other folks that I know that have been laid off also talked about like the experience of, managing different people.
Right.
How did it feel like just having that overwhelming response from like your friends or something?
It was, I think I definitely needed it those first couple of days. That first day particularly, I think not being isolated um was helpful to like kind of process everything or not think so much about it.
Right.
Like having other people to talk to about it. But I wish, because Coinbase, the one that happened on Coinbase was so, because I think it was one of the first
Right.
so everyone
Knew about it.
So I couldn't really communicate it in my time, right? So that part of it was maybe a little weird. Like, like I wish I had the like ability to kind of like tell people when I was ready, but because it was so public, that wasn't really
You
there.
didn't
But
have
it was kind of like part of it. Like I'm glad people knew, so like they could be supportive. But then also it was like just dealing with all the overwhelming
it's a lot.
messages and calls. It's like, it was also like I didn't want to kind of talk about it at that time. So yeah, I mean it was good and bad, I guess.
Good and bad, yeah, that makes sense. So one thing that I've also heard about, being laid off is like that initial feeling of like shame, like because I think we internalize our jobs so much that it's almost an identity, especially in the Bay Area. Like I see a lot of that where people make their jobs their whole identity. So coming from a place where that's the like you really wanted that job and then you finally get the job and then you get laid off. Like what's that headspace of like processing like the different emotions like shame and like disappointment? Like did you feel any of those?
Definitely. I think it came in waves, right? Like I think the first couple of days it was like, I mean, I was trying to look at it very like black and white. It had nothing to do with what you were doing or whatever the case would be. But I think as the weeks went on, and it's like, during the week, and there's nothing going on for you, but all your friends are working.
Yeah.
It's like then it started to set in like a little bit of the shame, disappointment, feeling like I'm wasting my life.
Right.
Other people are, because like you said, like especially in the Bay, like a lot of your life is centered around work and like what you're doing, what you're achieving.
Right.
So feeling like I didn't have that was a big struggle, and like kind of getting, because I was laid off from June to October, so like a big part of getting through those months was like actually finding.
So you have 3 months, like from getting laid off to finding another role.
To picking another role.
Okay.
So like I had to give myself some type of structure, because like those first couple of days it was just like I was just not really doing anything,
Right.
and that was part of what started making me feel like all the negative emotions. But I think at the point where I started thinking, okay, I have to interview, I have to give myself a schedule, all that stuff, then it helped get me out of that.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because work is actually what gives a lot of our life structure.
Right.
You build everything around work. Right. And then when that's like taken away, you realize how much
time really
you're just like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do with my time? Exactly. Like even when I'm on vacation, like it can crazy, be a little weird. Like, oh, I'm up, okay. Especially when you're not like traveling or anything. Like, what do you do? So I think that makes closure for the first experience, right? You were not able to log into your laptop.
Right.
What happened after that?
So I still had Slack access. So I was able to message in Slack. So I messaged in Slack and I said I wasn't sending. So I basically, because again, it's fully remote company, so there's no
so they cut off everything.
So at some point, I was just like, I think the Medium article said people should expect emails in their personal email. So that's how I knew to check my personal email. I saw meeting scheduled. So that was at like 7 a.m. The meeting scheduled with my skip at like 2 o'clock that day. And then that's when I officially got.
So wait, you woke up at 7 and you didn't have the conversation until like 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can already put 2 and 2 together. But like the fact that they put that much gap, like between when they had the conversation.
Exactly. Like I mean, I don't know if there's a good way to do a layoff. Yeah. But basically, I found out through the article. So yeah, it was probably a bit of time to find out the official news.
That sucks.
Yeah. It was not. It was But basically, I already knew.
That yeah, it was just like
What the
confirmation.
next steps were type thing. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So how did you get yourself past the feelings, the initial feelings of like disappointment,
Yeah.
shame, and all of that?
Yeah.
What helped?
Like I said, I think the biggest part was community. And then also I had an uncle that had been laid off for 2 years. Or like he got laid off he worked at Oracle, got laid off there and didn't have a job for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
So I had seen how he went through it, all the struggles he went through. And then he was very helpful in just telling me how to navigate it. So he was the one that was like, first thing you need to do is you need to give yourself a schedule. You need to actually have things to do, or else like that'll lead to like the like sad emotions and whatnot. So just basically, he really helped me figure out like emotionally what to do, and then like tactically like how do you deal with like just having this excess amount of time.
Yeah.
And then he also like really encouraged me to like enjoy. Because the weird thing about a layoff is like, glory to God, like I knew that hopefully at some point I would still get another job. I didn't know when.
Right.
But like it's like a forced vacation.
A forced vacation, yeah.
And it was like there's no other time in your life probably that you'll have this extended amount of time off. Like I should enjoy it. I didn't fully take that advice.
Yeah. That's something that a lot of people don't think about, because like we're going to work like most of our lives,
right?
Basically.
Exactly.
So like that moment, getting to that headspace where you actually see this in like a positive way, like you know what, there's always going to be work. Like eventually you would get a job.
Right.
And now that you're forced to not have to work, like how do you actually like take advantage of that like free time?
Right.
So you didn't really take that
advantage. I tried to a little bit. Like I'm a musician, so like I tried to put more effort into that. But I don't think I fully relaxed. In the back of my head, it was always like that thought of like, oh, well, your midterm jobs, you don't. So like, you need to figure it out as soon as possible. So I think I really started to enjoy it when I had job offers. And then I was. And
then you pushed out. Did you push out like your start date?
I tried to do as much as possible. So I think I got the first couple job offers in September, and I like made sure I didn't start till October.
Right.
But yeah, looking back now, I should have just that whole time. I should have. You should have just
enjoyed. Yeah. So that's something that you advise like someone
for
to
sure
like, enjoy. Yeah. I mean, it's hard.
It's easier said than done. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole time we're gonna be thinking about the fact that you don't have a job. But, like, if you can. Like try to enjoy it as much as possible, especially if you get a good severance package. Like,
right.
Take the time. Now, if you work in a company that you don't get that, then...
Okay, we're still gonna talk about that. So now, fast forward to new job starts and you are back in the rat race.
Right.
How long before the second layoff?
So this one was actually interesting because it was the company I started my career at. I went back to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you boomeranged.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then that was October. Then it was in January that layoff happened. So what? I mean, was that 3-4 months?
Wow. So like about 3-4 months. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was very wild. And I think. I was always in my mind, like, the reason why I went back was because I didn't want to I knew there was risk in working at Coinbase, a smaller company, crypto was more speculative.
Right.
I went back to Google because in my head it was like more secure.
More secure, right.
And it was a team that I was familiar with.
Right.
I had, like, a lot of good reputation with, so I was like...
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they were, like, able to get you back in as well, yeah.
And I was like, I thought I'd be insulated. And I even knew that there was... Because at this point, this was October, so a lot of companies had started laying off. So it was like whispers that Google was going to do the same. And, like, our management was saying, like, we're insulated. Like, my org was saying, like, we're good because, like, we're so essential to the way the rest of the company runs.
Yeah.
But they always say that.
Yeah.
But then it turned out not to be true, so... Yeah, it was surprising, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
But the only reason why this one didn't feel it wasn't as much of a gut punch was because I had accepted an offer, or I had an offer for another company.
Okay.
That I kind of pushed off in case.
That's smart. So that was when the first layoff, like you interviewed with that company?
Yeah, it was part of the interviews I did for the first layoff.
Gotcha.
And I kind of pushed that the like potential like start being acceptance like as far as I could. And then so that happened in
That's
January.
a smart idea. I didn't even think of that.
I mean, they always advise not to.
Yeah, but I mean,
but in that in the I guess economic climate that we're in, I just did it. Just in case. I didn't think I would have to. I thought I would, not have to, take that offer, but it worked out. So I ended up, like, I was sad because, again, more emotionally, like, I liked that team.
Right.
When I left that team to go to Coinbase originally, I didn't want to really.
Yeah.
I felt like it was the right move career-wise.
Yeah.
So from a, like, interpersonal standpoint, it was sad, but, like, career-wise, it was like, okay, at least I know I have something else. And it's just like, yeah.
Okay, so second layoff. Yeah. Was it helpful that you had already been through the experience before, or it just sucks just as much?
I think what was helpful was having a job lined up. I think, but yeah, it wasn't as bad as the first one. I think having experienced it the first time kind of helped me understand. Like I definitely this time was looking at it a lot more black and white. Like it was just like, especially for a company like Google. Right.
Like, and you also probably already have the tools from the last time. Exactly, of like, okay, this is how I need to like structure myself and everything. And the fact that you already had an offer also helps.
Exactly.
So you're probably more relaxed. Like,
like I literally, that one too was like an early, it was again I didn't even bother checking my laptop. Like, I checked my laptop to find out that was it was an article I read. Again, a friend sent me the article.
What is it with this article? Like,
that's how they announce, right? The companies announce. And then I think I was in bed. I stretched to my desk. I opened it and saw again the access to that, and I closed it. And I went back to sleep. Well, I was just like, well, like there's nothing I can do now. Yeah. I don't even think I had a meeting with a boss this time. It was all email communication.
Right.
But yeah, it was yeah.
So how you've gotten laid off twice, and I'm curious to know how you see like your job right now, like the concept of like having a job and being your identity and your value being tied to that job. Right. Like, do you feel like that has kind of changed the way you view like just jobs?
For sure. Like, I think part of the reason why I left Google originally to go to Coinbase was because I wanted to do something that I felt like was more impactful. Right? It was a big part, and like it was a big part of how I identified in the world. Like the job I'm doing actually has impact
in the world.
So that was a big reason why I went to Coinbase. And like even though Coinbase has a very intense work culture, I enjoyed it because I thought I was doing.
You were doing something, but yeah.
Right. So I don't think I had much of a life when I worked at Coinbase, and I didn't really like care about it. But so getting laid off from a company like that was like really, like it really, really messed me up. So now I see my job for what it is. Like I think it's a 9 to 5. That's what I get paid for. Like even if there is something that I'm doing that's impactful, it's still like I don't need to time my.
It's still a means to an end.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So I think I see it more objectively. There's moments, of course, because when you're in it so much, right, that I'm still very deeply emotionally attached to my work, but I think I'm able to see it more from a different perspective. It's not as deep or as strong as it used to be. Yeah. So I think that helps. Like, God forbid, I deal with. I guess I'm able to deal with just negative experiences at work a lot differently now too. Like, does it affect me because it's a job. Like
you've compartmentalized that
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, is there any? Well, of course, there's like always good you can find in every situation, but I'm curious to know that like are there things that was actually to your advantage, like about being laid off?
I'm trying to think now. It's like I don't know. Yeah. I think looking back now, I think probably the one that I know I didn't take advantage of what I said, like the free time you get out of it. Like, if you're blessed enough to be in a place where like you feel confident enough that you're gonna get another job, right? Like as best as possible, like try to just like, enjoy it. Yeah. Because once you're back in it, it's like So I think that's probably one thing. I think also.
What about the money, the severance?
Well, it's I don't know. It's good if again the second time the service was good because I knew I had a job coming, so it's okay, cool. It's just extra money now. But that
Oh, so like
first,
you had an offer that you were gonna accept, and then you
right,
just got a severance from
right,
like the second one. So that was
right,
like
right,
okay,
exactly. But the first time was like, okay, I have to make sure this money lasts because it's like the hard part of like, okay, it's cool to get a severance, but it's like you don't know
what's
when
at
the
the end
next
at
job
the
is
end of it?
coming. So
Yeah.
it's like you're trying to plan out your life and like your responsibilities don't change, right? So it's like,
Yep.
how do I make sure I'm being conservative enough
Mm-hmm.
to stretch me if hypothetically like I don't have a job for a
Right.
year, right? But yeah, so if you have a job lined up, yeah, the service is just
Is
extra.
yeah,
It's
that's
like
true
extra
money.
cash, but like
Right.
if you don't know, like then it's like at least for me it was like
Right.
I tried to really cut down as much as possible.
Yeah.
Um,
Are there other things to like be aware of when like you first get laid off? Like are there things that you should know like maybe you wish you had done that you didn't do? For example now people talk about like health insurance. Like I know that for some of
oh
my friends they say you still get maybe about a few weeks
yeah,
of health
yeah, yeah,
insurance. So like go do all of your checkups and all
yeah,
of those things. So are
exactly.
there like other
Yeah,
similar stuff
for
like
sure.
that?
I think that's probably the biggest one because I actually got impacted by that as well.
Mm.
I'm trying to think. I think for the most part, like things kind of stay the same, but like there's probably a lot of perks that like you get at work that you don't realize or that you don't think about or you take for granted.
Right,
That
until
once it's
it's
cut
not there
off,
anymore.
it's like
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah, and
there
for
anymore.
those who don't know, like in the US, health insurance is tied to your job for the most part. So like if you lose your job, you most likely won't have health insurance as well, which is a big deal because medical care is very expensive in
Right,
the US.
right.
So yeah.
And depending on the company and depending on the service package, it's different. Like I think Coinbase covered like an additional month after or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then Google it was like they gave you like the cash value of your insurance type thing. So
Okay. Oh, okay.
so yeah.
So that it will just be up to you
Yeah,
to
like they just gave it as part of the service package.
okay.
And then it also like helped me like I think now the way I approach how I configure my health insurance too, like my additional benefits at work is different. Right. I try to take advantage of like my health savings account because
Mm,
like that goes with you even without the
true.
job. Right.
Yeah.
So like in case God forbid something
Yeah.
happens,
You have
and then your
that.
employer matches that too. So
Yeah.
like stuff like that. Like there was a checkup I had to go. It was literally just like a regular checkup, and it ended up costing like $2,000 because I was
Oh,
out of the
wow.
corporate coverage, but it was my HSA that ended up
That ended up
paying
helping
for it,
you.
right? So
Mm.
stuff like that.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So just to kind of wrap up, do you have any other advice that you give to someone that's like currently dealing with like layoffs? Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just like to stay encouraged that at some point it will make sense, right?
Mm.
Like there's nothing that you could have done or could do that would have prevented you
Yeah.
from getting laid off. At least in my experience, like again,
Yeah.
a layoff typically is done because they're trying to make some numbers work, right? So if like just try to stay encouraged in that and don't let that negative experience make you feel like you're not good at your job or not worthy of another job.
Right.
And just keep pressing through.
Mm-hmm.
And usually what you get on the other side is gonna be worth the experience that you went through.
Mm.
So there's this is like really crazy tangential information, but the layoffs and like how they kind of happen in time is like kind of helped me like put me in a financial place to do other things, right? Which during the layoff I didn't see.
You didn't see that,
but like
but in retrospect,
in
now
retrospect,
hindsight is always
if I
2020.
didn't get laid off, there are a lot of things that I'm able to do now that I wouldn't have been able to do. So yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that, a lot of people always think that, oh, maybe I'm not just good enough. And
Right.
so separating yourself and your worth
Yeah.
from that can be like a difficult thing
Right.
for people to
Right.
do. But if you can get past that initial feeling, and I think just seeing it as part of life, like
Yeah.
it's loss. It's a type of loss, and
Yeah.
we've all experienced or are going to experience
It's lost
loss
at some point. Yeah.
at some point. So I think that seeing this as just one of those things, of course, it's easier said than done when you're in
Right.
it. But like, I just hope that it can be as you know, is it accepted that
Right.
it's okay? Like you're not terrible at your
Yeah,
job. You're not
exactly.
you're not just and it's just numbers
Right.
and it is what it is kind
Right.
of thing. Yeah.
And it's crazy, like, too, when I got laid off, I found out how many, like, I think our generation of, I guess, folks that work in tech hadn't seen something like that. But everyone that, like, maybe
Yeah.
in tech 10
It's
plus
like, oh
years,
yeah,
they're
we've
like,
been here, done
this
that.
is normal. Right.
Right.
So I think that also is encouraging to know, like, it's like, this is just part of working for someone else.
Yeah.
Like, you might, the likelihood of you not experiencing a layoff in your career is probably, like, less likely than it is. So it's like, it's probably more likely that you'll experience a layoff than not. So just, it's
Do you
more.
feel like while you were interviewing for other jobs, like was there like a shadow of did you have to say, oh, I was laid off, or that never really came up?
It usually came up because it was Coinbase and it was such
And everybody
a
knew
public
that was
layoff.
yeah.
But I think again, there's another thing of like everyone understands.
Right,
like,
that
it's
didn't
a
impact
layoff,
anything,
they get
yeah.
fired. Which in that case, it actually helped too. Like everyone knowing that they actually get a layoff of a large amount of staff, so like it makes sense that we're looking.
You're looking for a job right now. So the question of why
Yeah,
why do you want a job is like hello.
Don't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sharif. This was
Of
great
course.
conversation.
Yeah, it was.
And I appreciate you like being able to talk openly about it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section or reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer them or send them to Sharif for him to answer. Do you want them to be able to contact you or
yeah.
Or do you, Instagram or
Instagram is just my name, Sharif Agbola.
Okay. And he's a badass musician as well. So if you're into that,
check it out.
you should check out his music. Thank you guys, and don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you found this video useful. Bye.